This is the Coolingstyle Portable Air Conditioner. I got this from backing a Kickstarter campaign that the company was launching. If you look at the campaign and you look at the comments, there's a lot of not so nice things people have to say about this. Some of it's warranted, some of it isn't. So there's good and bad with this. We'll start with the good. Build quality's pretty good. The construction's nice, the plastic, the molding, everything fits together well. It was packed really nicely. And as Kickstarter campaigns go, this ran about 5 months late, which is right on time in my book when it comes to Kickstarter stuff. So, as for performance, this is a great little dehumidifier. This thing dehumidifies really, really well and at a relatively low power consumption. And that leads to one of the negatives. The design of this, you can see the drain on the bottom there, and there's just not enough clearance. You have to get the feet of the Coolingstyle up a little bit in order to get this to drain properly. I actually have it on a little camp table, which is the perfect elevation for this. And you can snake the drain tube down. But, I mean, this thing will fill a Gatorade bottle over the course of about 2 hours from my testing. And this is Pennsylvania humidity. But it's a really, really good dehumidifier. And, I mean, it's so good that it pumps out an incredible amount of hot air out of the back. Hotter than the ambient room temperature because it is dehumidifying it. So you have to use the hot pipe. You can't have that hot air just exhausting out of the back and have this thing really perform at what little cooling capacity it does have. So you got to use the hot pipe, and realistically you have to get that hot air out of the room, out of the tent, out of the camper van, whatever you're using it in. Otherwise, this is a losing battle. The amount of cold air, if you could even call it that comes out of this is pretty minuscule. It is putting out cold air. Just from putting an indoor-outdoor thermometer in front of these vents, it appears that the air coming out of this is about 60 Fahrenheit. So, you know, you have to capitalize on that very small cooling that is coming out of this thing. So the more hot air that you can get it to exhaust somewhere else, the better it does. But and this is not going to cool a room off. This is not going to cool the inside of your camper van. Certainly not going to cool off the inside of a double or single wall tent, because it just doesn't output enough cold air. But what it will do is it will dehumidify, and it will put out a little bit of cool air. So you can remove the humidity from a small room. And we're talking about like a 100 square foot room at the most. I tried it in my roughly 50 square foot bathroom. It sucks the moisture right out of the air, but it will not drop the temperature. It will give you some cooling relief if you're sitting in front of it. If you're maybe, I don't know, 2 feet from those vents, you'll feel some cold air coming out of there. Maybe it'll cool you off. But it's really like a personal air conditioner, a spot cooler. So let's just take a look on the side here. They have the 2 surface panels on either side. That's what they look like. You got a little window unit air conditioner filter style thing here that you can clean off if it gets skunked up. But so there's the little compressor. It is a tiny little compressor. And I mean, there's room in here. It's not like everything's so jammed in here that there's no space to maybe put a bigger compressor in there or put some different components to maybe make it pump out a little colder, a little more air. I don't know enough about HVAC stuff to speak intelligently about it, but you know, I would think that maybe there's room here to make it better. Got a service port for the AC. I'm tempted to ask Coolingstyle if I can attempt to give it a little burst of R134. It's the same stuff that I've got a kit for to use on my old car, but I don't want to, you know, maybe this is the maximum that can be expected from something this size that is relatively low draw. I think it looks like it's about 200 watts that this thing consumes, so maybe this is the best that it gets. And if that's the case, this is not a total loss. The dehumidifier aspect of it is great, and in my mind, you know, it's Kickstarter. You're not buying something from a store. You're backing a project, you're backing an idea. Yes, this was oversold probably as being whisper quiet. I'll turn it on in a second so you can hear it. And you know, you got pictures on the campaign page of people sitting on the beach, and this thing's just waves of cold air splashing over people, cooling them down. And there's some setup involved with this too. Like you don't just carry this thing on by the handle, plug it in, and turn it on. You got to get that drain situated, otherwise it makes a mess. It overflowed on me because I didn't have the drain pipe situated properly, because it is such a good dehumidifier. It's sucking so much moisture out, and you have to use this drain pipe, or the hot pipe rather. There's no way around it. Like it's just completely counterproductive if you have all that hot air just venting out of the back. You don't get a good feel for it on the video, but that's blinding. So that's a success. If you had this in a tent, that would be your sole light for sure. Got an SOS mode. Two little USB outlets, and I plugged in a USB fan into those and kind of positioned it so that it would be trying to circulate the air more coming out of the vents, but that didn't help anything. And I don't know if my camera will pick it up, but the fans, they are cylindrical fans, much like what you would have in a tower fan. All right, so I'll fire it up. We'll just put it on 1. One is tolerable. I'm talking the same distance from my phone as I was before, so should be picking my voice up just fine with that running. Let's go to 2. And also 1, I think 1 is really where you want to be running this, because the cool air that comes out of here is so small that when you crank these fan speeds up, the cold air just gets lost. Like, it's just blowing, I don't know, it's not very effective. But here's 2. Okay, so that's 2. Not bad, not terrible. 3. Not terrible. Probably you're still hearing me. Would you want this running next to you in a tent all night? Probably not. Maybe you could deal with it on 1. So I'll turn it off here. But that leads me to another quick point. Because this does not actually lower the ambient temperature of a room. They had originally sold this with the battery as an add-on, and that's just not going to be the way to go, because unless it's some incredible lithium battery, you need this thing running constantly. It's not the type of thing where you can turn it on, it'll cool down whatever area you're in, and you can turn it off and turn it on and so on. It just has to run constantly. Unless maybe you use it to just dehumidify an area and then you turn it off. But I don't think that battery is going to be a good solution. I am running it, just testing it off of my deep cycle marine battery. I don't have any times for how long it'll run that, but I will try to just let it rip and see how long the deep cycle marine battery will power it. I'm just going through a little inverter there. And lastly, they couldn't supply the car cord for this because the draw through a 12-volt outlet, I guess it would just be too much for it and would probably blow your fuses. So they did give a power cable that just has a positive and a negative bare ends on it. Not really going to be useful in the States, because our vehicles are a 12-volt system and this is 24. So I understand the reasoning behind them not supplying the car cord. A lot of us paid extra for that. It would have been nice to maybe get that money back, but I get it. It's Kickstarter. You're not buying something from a store. It's an idea, a project, and they did deliver it, and it's got its pros and cons. I would say it is generally a success. Curious to see if they do make a second attempt at this, if they can fit whatever components need to be beefed up in this same form factor. They'd really have a hit, because this is a nice size. Maybe reposition the drain, or at least get this area here raised up more so that the drain tube doesn't kink and flood the whole thing. So those are my first impressions of this. Let me know if you have any questions, and please subscribe. Thank you.